First up though, what sort of fool would open up a drug injecting room next to a primary school, leave it there for 5 years and then ignore the desperate pleas of parents and local residents forced to live on a daily basis with drug dealing, street injecting, overdoses, crime, violence, and then argue to leave it there? Well, that fool is the Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews, who is ultimately in charge of this crazy foolhardy experiment in inner city Melbourne suburb of Richmond. Now, why is the drug room back in the news? Well, I'll tell you. And this is almost impossible to believe. The Victorian Parliament will this week debate in the House on whether to legislate or not to move that injecting room but make it permanent. And it's expected, given the numbers are with Labor and the Greens, who, by the way, this is equally impossible to believe, want children to be able to use that drug room to inject. And don't be fooled when people call this a health facility for the medically supervised injection of heroin. You can actually take whatever drugs you like in there, including the violent behaviour-inducing drug of ice. So if the Greens do a deal with Labor, children will be able to buy any drug they can afford from drug dealers who use that injecting room location as a honeypot to deal drugs. Now this, in my view, is complete madness. There are only 2 such drug rooms in Australia. Sydney's got one. I've visited it in the past. It's in King's Cross at the grotty end of Darlinghurst Road. It's where drug-affected homeless people hang out. Not ideal, but can you imagine if the new New South Wales Premier, for example, Christopher Minns, was to advocate, say, a second drug room and suggested it be located next to a primary school? Now, people rightly would suggest he was out of his mind and the idea would be quickly dumped. But Minns wouldn't be that stupid or arrogant. He's not Daniel Andrews. The big problem we have here is that Melbourne's inner city suburbs and councils are being captured by the Green left, and the poor residents that live there pay the price. I've written about this dreadful location before. It was revealed this week that the school fears for the safety of their pupils. Writing to government, they said little primary school children, I'll repeat that, little primary school children can't enjoy an acceptable level of safety. The school told government there had been a recent school lockdown and a drug overdose within metres of the school gate. Can you believe that? Last time I visited the streets around this drug room, it took about 5 minutes to find a bloke shooting up heroin into a vein in his arm in a gutter a block away. And I was there at school pickup time. Sometimes you can rationalise dumb government decisions on the basis of political philosophy. It's in their DNA. But what possible reason could any sensible person in their right mind put a drug-using room next to a primary school in the middle of a residential suburb? Sadly, I can tip to you tonight that by Thursday this week, that nightmare will become a permanent, foolish, dumb decision by a state government that has lost the plot.